It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Where You Live with Gene and Tony. It's great to have you with us. I'm Gene Sullivan.
I'm Tony Crockett.
And we have got some great stories that we're going to be covering here in the second hour. We have a topic that we're going to be covering here. I had a senior moment there. Excuse me. The president has come out with some housing initiatives, and I think everybody knows and understands that there have been big issues and problems with foreclosures, with people being underwater, people not having mortgage companies responsive anymore, more difficulty in refinancing, and he's come up with some housing initiatives.
Okay.
We want to take a look at those and see what they are. Could they make a difference, or are they, like a lot of other proposed legislation, a nice idea, but it hasn't been followed through? We'll let you be the judge.
I'm really excited.
And we also have, a little bit later on the show, too, as time permits, a story from California where a number of goats were the heroes of the day for a homeowner association. But we will cover that in a little bit later here on the show. Folks, we are, of course, broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you this second hour by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. And let's begin, Tony, talking about the President Obama announcing housing initiatives. He unveiled a series of initiatives to help move the nation's fragile housing market to recovery.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
What is an initiative? This isn't legislation, right?
Well, yes. At this point, the president, of course, cannot enact legislation.
No.
That can only be picked up by Congress itself.
Okay.
So he, as the leader, is trying to say, here, Congress, is what I want you to focus on.
Here's some
do.
ideas, things I'd like you to look at.
Yes.
That's an initiative.
That's
okay.
an initiative.
All right.
So that's what
Thank
he's
you.
doing. And so the president proposes a housing initiative to kind of get our fragile housing market back onto recovery. He's got 4 points. These 4 points are talking about the mass refinancing program, all of the refinancing that needs to take place. He has what's called a homeowner bill of rights.
Okay.
Also, people are dealing with foreclosure. How do you deal with foreclosure mitigation? What are some things to do to get out of that? Possibly other solutions. And then also talk about REO property. REO is real estate owned. It's a term used by banks, bank-owned property, okay? And taking that to a rental pilot program of some type.
All right.
So let's deal with this first initiative, and that is refinancing. I think we would probably all agree refinancing does need to be addressed, don't you?
I guess. I don't know. I'm skeptical
You're
when the
skeptical.
government starts to get involved.
Okay, let's put the government aside.
Okay, all right.
I'm asking the question, would you say that lenders and mortgage companies are much different than they were a few years ago?
It's not as easy to get loans.
Yes.
All right. There is refinancing available, but he's talking about a mass program that would be available to people who don't now qualify. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what's happening, because that's what.
But I'm going to hold back on saying that's necessary.
Okay. But you would say that people do. I'm just like pulling teeth from you today,
so
isn't
sorry.
it? No,
I'm so sorry.
No, but what you're saying is that you can see that there's been a big difference.
Yes.
And it is kind of like a pendulum, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
A number of years ago,
It was way too easy.
It was way too easy. At this point, would you at least assent? Maybe not. Assent to the idea that maybe it swung a little bit too far. It needs to come back to a little bit more.
It's way too hard.
Yeah.
It needs to somehow find the middle. Okay, I'll agree to that.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I was looking for.
Sorry.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, I understand, and I agree with your sentiment on that. So let's take a look at that. Refinancing, we'd like to try and make it a little bit more easy. It says the president, would like to propose legislation to Congress allowing all borrowers whose mortgage exceeds the value of their homes, that's a good number, to refinance. Because what's happening now is if you don't have at least some equity,
right, you
can't refinance.
Okay.
But a lot of homes are underwater.
Okay.
And so they would like to do that because the administration believes that if you could refinance with current mortgage rates that are at historic lows, the average American homeowner could save as much as $460, maybe $500 a month.
So this is trying to prevent foreclosure down the road.
Yes,
okay.
and for some people, $500 a month or less a month in their mortgage payment might make the difference.
Yeah.
Homeowners would have the option to automatically use these savings to make extra principal payments. Of course, people have been told that, but a lot of people use it just to buy other things.
Just to get by. They can't. Yeah.
You're right. It's already spent, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so this is just trying to get back into more of a margins.
Okay.
Here, homeowners choosing this option may receive financial assistance to pay for closing costs. The administration estimates that 3.5 million borrowers are eligible for the refinance program at this time.
As he's proposing it. Okay.
Now, the program features would be, number one, it would be open to all mortgages, okay, including mortgages insured by FHA or guaranteed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac.
Okay.
Borrowers must be current on the mortgage for prior 6 months, with no more than one delinquency in a 12-month period. So they're saying you've had a little bit of trouble, but not too much.
Yeah, but my reaction to this when I first read it was it's the government again coming up with too little, too late, but just enough to mess up the market. So this one, that the borrower must be current on the mortgage for the prior 6 months with no more than one delinquency in 12 months, it's too late for many, many homeowners.
So this program really does nothing then in that. And so that's a concern. So it seems like it's throwing out a bone, but in essence it may not, because
in reality it's not going to apply to many people.
Because you're right. There is a concern there. If the administration is trying to cure the 3.5 million borrowers who are underwater with their mortgage and have had some issues, that may be too slim of a margin, and they are already disqualified. So
that's right.
It's really not offering anything. It's like saying, swim another 20 feet and you can have this life preserver.
Yes, it's a lot like that.
Let's take a look at some of the other issues here. Okay, minimum credit score 580. That's doable. It's saying that that you have an understanding of a little more. I guess. What's the word I'm looking for? Leniency. Here's one: loan to value ratio of less than 140%. So you can be over 100% worth value, but not 150, not 200%.
That I marked as my example of too little.
Too little. Okay.
Most situations I've seen. And I've dealt with a lot of foreclosures. My clients have been going through foreclosures. Friends have gone through foreclosures. 140% is pretty conservative. Many people are 150 to 200% underwater or loan to value. Their house is now worth only half what they mortgaged. So I think this may be too little.
Yeah. So again,
to really be effective.
So again, it's an initiative. It's good to see. Maybe this initiative would have been better to have seen a couple years ago.
A little more flexibility.
And a little bit more flexibility, because, again, you're right. The concerns it's not the intent. It's a great intent, and I appreciate the sentiment, but I share with you that there's probably going to be a lot of issues, and it's really not going to be doable.
Yeah.
There are two other items I'll just mention here before we go to break. One is confirmed employment but no income verification, and the idea of no appraisal. We'll talk about that a little more, but we need to take a break right now. Folks, what do you think of the president's initiatives for seeing our country go back to a housing recovery? Will this take care of it, do you think? We're going to ask that question and delve into that more after these messages.
People think I'm cool.